Hello, hello. I'm so happy you're able to join us for our first Story Slam of the 2025 season. I can't believe it's still January, but here we are. It's still technically January. A few announcements before tonight's event. Tomorrow night, 1:31, we have the hilarious Friends at Montclair Improv Comedy here at Cinema 505 at 8 p.m. On Sunday, the 2nd, we have a sensory-friendly screening of Dogman at the Claridge. If you know anyone with sensory sensitivities, it's a great opportunity for them to be able to comfortably enjoy a film in the theater. For those of you who don't know, we bring the lights halfway up, the sound a little bit down, so it's a little bit easier for people who need it. Also on the 2nd, at the Claridge, we have a special screening of The Thinking Game, a film about DeepMind, one of the world's leading AI labs, presented in partnership with Science on Screen. It will be followed by a discussion with industry experts Greg Kahn and Aaron Luber. If you haven't had a chance to catch any Oscar-nominated films this year, be sure to check out our 4-year consideration series at the Claridge, where we bring many of the nominees back to the big screen. You can also catch the Oscar-nominated Shorts program starting on February 14th. Montclair Film has winter classes for middle and high school students and adults in filmmaking, screenwriting, editing, voice acting, podcasting, and much more. Visit our website to see our winter class schedule, and keep your eyes peeled for our Summer Academy camp schedule, which will be announced on February 8th. You can also find this information about events and so much more at montclairfilm.org, and stay up to date on all of our events on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. And please, I need to reiterate, being on our social media is so helpful, because sometimes we get events sent to us that we find out about, and then 24 hours later the event happens. Socials are the fastest way for us to get that information to you. We had Julia Stiles last week. That was a 48-hour turnaround. So it will be in our emails, but I know sometimes you get a lot of our different types of emails. So look at our emails, look at our socials, and you'll get that information first. Also, please consider becoming a Montclair Film member. How many members do we have out there? Can I have a raise of? Oh my God, how beautiful. That makes me so happy. You get discounts on tickets, merchandise, concessions, and early access to the Montclair Film Festival, which happens in October. Plus, you'll be supporting all of the great work our nonprofit does throughout the year. Our next Story Slam will be February 27th. And the theme will be the blank date ever. So we're gonna find good dates, bad dates, funny dates. We're gonna find out. The bar is open tonight, so please feel free to go get some concessions while I'm making these announcements and during deliberation after the storytellers finish up. Please note our fire exits are on your right and your left, and our restrooms are on your left outside of the exit door. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our host this evening, Duncan Miller. Yeah, let's give him a round of applause. He is our storytelling teacher and coach here at Montclair Film. Duncan is a former actor and improviser who has performed at the Second City and Improv Olympic in Chicago. He has performed in various theaters, short films, and festivals in New York City, Chicago, and Baltimore prior to earning his master's degree in education. Currently, he is the high school academic dean at North Star Academy in Newark, helping to guide the next generation of storytellers. Please welcome Duncan.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, everyone. Welcome. All right, we saw where our members are, but I want to see who's new to a Story Slam. Would you just give us a quick show of hands who's never been here before? Yes, let's give it up, veterans, returners, for our newbies. And then, of course, our returners who've been here, tried and true. Show us where you're at. Yes, welcome back. Thank you for being here once again. We're so excited you joined us on this very chilly evening. Tonight's theme is Out with the Old. New year, new you, right? I had a birthday at the beginning of the month, and the only new thing that I had was a new sound in my knee. So that's new. In with the old, I don't know which one it is. 2025 is off to a very interesting start. Very interesting. But that's why we need to be here tonight. We are going to share stories of how to cope with the difficult things. We're going to share stories of how we move forward, we move on, and we work together to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And so thankfully, we have storytellers who are going to bare their souls tonight, share small parts of who they are and what they've been through to help us all move forward together. And we could take this small community that we're going to build tonight out into the world that needs to feel that as well. So thank you for being here. Before we dive into our actual stories, we need to meet our illustrious judges. We have 3 industry professionals, community members that are here to judge the stories tonight, but it is, of course, a friendly competition. The swag on the line is Montclair Film bags with some gear, and our top place prize tonight will get a year membership as well. So, very exciting things for our storytellers. Let's meet our three judges that are here in our second row. First, we have Yana Collins-Lehman. Let's give it up for Yana in the middle. Yana is the CEO of Travana Post Incorporated, a film and television post-accounting firm. She currently oversees strategy and operations of the New York, LA, and London offices, a staff of 50. She started as a post-production accountant at Travana, working on feature films and television shows since 2004. She's also an active member of Local 161. Yana also serves as chair of the Post-New York Alliance Board of Directors. The PNYA successfully lobbied New York State for a 30% film and TV post-production incentive. She's a relentless advocate of the post-production industry. She resides here in Montclair, where she serves on the board of the Montclair Film Festival. Let's give it up again for Yana. Next up on the aisle, we have Emily Zinn. Emily is a New York transplant who moved to Montclair nearly 30 years ago. In her long career of entertainment, she helped launch the first made-for-cable TV movies for the USA Network, brought CMT and Nickelodeon to the global marketplace, and was introduced to The Moth when she worked at a small cable network called Trio, where they produced the first televised program in this original storytelling series. Later, she went on to lead communications for Bravo, where she launched several award-winning franchises, including The Real Housewives, Project Runway, and Top Chef. And then the Travel Channel, she balanced the storytelling of Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations with the investigations of The Ghost Adventures. Emily took a hiatus from the entertainment to lead the global corporate communications for Godiva, where she oversaw the Lady Godiva Initiative, Chocolatier's signature impact for social justice that supports women empowerment around the world. Today, she's running her own strategic communications consultancy and recently helped launch the 80s sitcom Flashback, a fast, free ad-supported television channel that features the zany sitcoms from the iconic 80s, including one of my favorites, Three's Company. Let's give it up for Emily. And finally, we have Carter Stewart. Welcome, Carter. Yes, come on. Carter is an executive vice president for programs at the Mellon Foundation, and he works closely with Mellon's president, board, and staff to shape the foundation's funding priorities and direction. Prior to joining Mellon, Carter was a managing director of the Draper Richards Kaplan Foundation, where he identified and supported new investments in grantees, primarily early-stage, justice-oriented organizations. He was appointed by President Obama to serve as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Ohio, where he emphasized deterrence, crime prevention, and alternatives to incarceration. Carter's also been a litigator, held academic positions at The Ohio State University, taught history at Friends Seminary High School in Manhattan, and was a New York City Urban Fellow. Carter served on the boards of the Contemporary American Theater Company and the Joyce Foundation, and is a current trustee for the Marshall Project, the Nantucket Film Festival, the Nantucket Historical Association, and the Atlantic Foundation. Welcome. Let's give it up again for Carter. All right. Now that we know who's in charge, let's learn our rules. Storytellers, listen up. The only real rules tonight are 2. 6 minutes total for each story. This wonderful young lady in the front, Jen, will tell you when you are halfway through with the green sign. When you receive a yellow card, you have 1 minute left. And your red card means you're off the pitch. It's time to go. The only other rule, of course, is to be on theme. We're looking forward to what you have to share with us tonight. Heads up, there is not an intermission, so if you need one last drink or snack, please do that now, and we're going to run straight through all of our stories tonight. I'm very excited to welcome our first storyteller up with our theme, Out with the Old. Please give a warm welcome to Bonnie Barrios.
No pressure at all to start the show. None. Enough. No more. Out with the old Bonnie. Years and years of holding back. Years and years of fear. Years and years fearing the unknown. Fearing failure. Fearing success. Fearing change. And yet, wanting change. Wanting more. Wanting success. Wanting freedom. The fear ends now. The all-thought patterns instilled in me end now. The ingrained childhood trauma ends now. It ends for me, but most importantly, I end it for my daughters. I didn't know what normal was. I didn't know that having play dates, going to sleepaway camp, and letting your kids walk into town alone at an appropriate age with friends was okay. I didn't realize I was holding my girls back, that unknowingly I was passing on to them the fear that I was raised in. I was riddled with fear of the thought of letting them do those things alone. What if something horrible happened to them? What if I wasn't a good mom and I wasn't there to protect them? You see, I was not allowed to go on play dates. No, God forbid. I mean, we didn't know who those people were, right? And what if they had this evil cousin and that evil cousin would do something horrible to me? Yep, that was my childhood. So, when my girls asked for a play date, I didn't know what to do. I thought, how could these moms let their kids have play dates at strangers' houses? Don't they know about the evil cousin? I mean, I was terrified because all I heard in my head was, beware of the evil cousin. But somewhere in my gut, I knew that could not possibly be true. So I closed my eyes, took a leap of faith, and trusted that all would be okay. And guess what? When I finally had the guts to drop them off at a play date, there was no evil cousin, and they were happy as a clam. Okay, first fear conquered. Yay! All right, then came the sleepaway camp dilemma. I just couldn't imagine myself dropping off my girl at a camp. No. And let's talk about the lake. Oh my God, every time I looked at the lake, my stomach would just turn thinking about the lake. So I took the camp director to the side after the tour and said, so, talk to me about the lake. And the poor man was like, yes, ma'am. I mean, I was like, do the kids go in there every day? Like, are the kids supervised? Like, has there ever been any accidents? And the director just looked at me with this look and said, ma'am, I have been running this camp for the past 25 years, and nothing has ever happened. I came home deflated, confused, and so angry of my past, of the generational trauma that I had been passing down to me, and that I was passing down to my daughters as well, without knowing. No more. I was not going to let my traumas and crazy upbringing interfere with my girls experiencing and doing things that they should be doing at their age. I thought I had turned a page in my life until this happened. I was so happy and excited telling my friend Liz that my oldest daughter was going to London for her study abroad semester, and I mentioned that I was going to buy a plane ticket to be on the same flight as her to make sure she got there safe. And Liz just turned around and looked at me like I had 3 heads and said, no, you don't do that. What is wrong with you? You let her go on her own and have her own experience. She's an adult. She will be safe. That was my turning point. What was I doing? What was I thinking? I was done. Enough. No more. No more evil cousin. No more fear. Out with the old Bonnie. And hello, new Bonnie. Nice to meet you.
All right, let's keep it going for Bonnie. Thank you so much for starting us off. I am very much a grown man, but my family still teases me from my time at sleepaway camp. They dropped me off. It's 3 weeks long. My grandmother saved a bunch of money so I could go to this camp with my cousin, and they dropped me off. I said, all right, bud, have a good time. I just looked at them. I said, I'm so clueless. What do I do? They're like, you're at camp. There's bows and arrows. Just go. So anytime I've stumbled in my life and needed some guidance, they're like, are you clueless, bud? So it's nice. But camp builds character. All right, great start. Thank you, Bonnie. Let's keep it going. Our next storyteller coming up is Angela Gray. Come on up, Angela.
Hey, y'all. So I'm a single gal, dating in this modern and digital era. So exciting. Not work at all, not hard, sarcasm. So there's nothing like the touch under your fingertips of the smooth feel as you swipe left and right of a touchscreen on your phone, where you're looking for that special someone and you never know what you're gonna get in profile. Is someone gonna use punctuation? I hope so, please. They don't. Is it gonna be run-on sentences? Absolutely. Are there gonna be pictures of tigers and bears and group shots? Who are you? Who are you with? What is going on? Oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Finding the love of my life? Surely, no. But you learn a lot during the dating process, and you never, like I said, you never know what you're gonna get, and you have to start to establish rules for yourself, guidelines, how you're gonna operate, and you have to trust your gut. Know what, just set your standards and stick to it amongst this crazy mishmash of everything that's going on. So when it comes to a point where you've gone through the profiles where you don't know and you're scrolling, and then it's like an age progression, they're 35, they're 45, 65, are they alive? So, whatever. But then you gotta have a good date. So in the summer, I had this really great date, a handsome man. He made plans, oh my gosh, intelligent, a high school teacher, taught arts. I always give people, there's always naming conventions, people get nicknames, so he's the artist. And so I went out with the artist, and he made plans, and we went to lunch in town on Church Street. I don't know. And you might know. And so we walked around, and it was time upon time, and hours went by, and then there was a shaded tree and a stoplight and a smooch. I invited it, he accepted. And it was good. Oh, it was good. Good lips are really delicious kissing. Mwah. It's amazing. So then, and then we thrifted. How about that? Oh, so Montclair. And so went along, we thrifted, and then went to ice cream. So it's been like 4 hours. And your girl, look, I'm grown, so I was just like running to get to the date, and I made certain assurances that I would stay in a certain pocket. So I was wearing granny panties, didn't clean my house, nothing's gonna happen. And so we ended up having ice cream, and then I was like, okay, we're gonna wind down. It's been this long, and then it was suddenly, I could just run upstairs and clean real quick, and then we had fun. So we got busy, and that was great. Again, grown lady, I can do what I want. So as we continued to be in touch, this really great guy, and intelligent, sensitive, but sometimes you can put little bookmarks. I don't say flags, bookmarks. And so he was new in his dating game, new in separation and divorce. 3 months, and it was like, oh, baby doe, don't know what's gonna happen with that. And I was like, gotta watch for that. So then, as we started communicating, it devolved. And then I was getting texts at 9:30 in the morning, and it was WID. And I was like, excuse me? What are you doing? And I was like, granted, high school teacher, but I'm a lady. And I was like, can I get some more characters? Can I get some more consonants? Vanna, can I buy a vowel? Okay? This is what your girl deserves. So the fade out happened, and I was disappointed, but you got to go with your gut. These little different things, sometimes little moments where we had chats and they were a little bit combative, another bookmark. So faded out. Going into, just as you go along in anything in life, you know what you deserve, what you should have, intention, this, that. And so heading into the end of the year, and it's like, and this is a typical time where, in my case, fellas, but people, they reach out, they throw out some breadcrumbs, put out a line, see what they can hook. And so then I got a text, and I was just like, he's like, how are you? And I was like, I'm great, period. And that's no questions asked, don't care. But we had some conversation, moved on as, and I was like, look, I stay cool with people. So then into the new year, we messaged again. And I was like, okay. And then there was a moment another week later, and it's like, this happens, again, human. A little low moment, a little bored, restless, little self-esteem for the moment, hormone soup. And then you just send out, and apparently I was in the mood for breadcrumbs because then I was snacking on them and sending them out. And I was like, hey, thinking about you. So we had some good repartee, and then we started having some decent conversations. And then I laid out to him that I was like, look, my guy, I was like, I'm fine with booty calls. Everybody has them. We do a little glass break-in in case of emergency, no problem. But I had laid out that I want to go out on some dates. I want to do some stuff. And then if we want to have fun, we'll have fun. And so I said it, and he was like, absolutely, yes, I understand. And he was like, yeah. So And I was like, so, all right. So I was like, he's like, maybe we should get a drink. And I was like, okay, got his weight up, got his confidence back a little bit. And then I was like, when are you thinking? When are you free? He's like, about 2 weeks. I was like, boy, bye. What are we talking about? So then we go back and forth. And then I said, well, okay. I was like, is that an invitation? He's like, pretty please, would you come over? Bookmark. So I was like, oh, okay. So I see what's going on here. So I just said, I was like, all right, let me start to backtrack. And then I was like, let me just ask one last question. What do you have in mind for us to meet up? And he was like, oh, well, I'm alone in my apartment right now. Great. And then he's like, and I was like, is that an invitation and to come over to drive 40 minutes to where you live? This lady? Okay. And then he was like, well, I was thinking, fucking in food. And I was like, oh, my heart is all aflutter. Wow, what an amazing invitation. So guess what? This girl, she knew. Myself was telling myself, girl, what'd I say? What'd I tell you? You already knew that you need to back off this dude. Next time, phone a friend. Don't phone this mofo. And it was just like, so I had to take all that and remember the lesson to myself of just trusting your gut, knowing what you know, leaving that trash back in 2024, not carrying over the line into 2025. And in the words of, well, let me just say very quickly that, I deserve all the punctuation, characters, vowels, intention, all of that good stuff. But also, in the words of the great philosopher, which I'm going to tweak it, Dora the Explorer, who had to deal with some very shady people like Swiper, we don't revisit. We move forward, we move on. And no Swiper, no reswiping.
All right, let's keep it going for Angela. Yeah, everyone out there, have young people in your life, use the full alphabet. It's lovely. It's available to you. My little sister's in the horse world. And so, just so you know, this is a PSA more than anything. There is a dating app. It's called Farmers Only. So if you're really bored, Angela, catch you a farmer. All right, let's keep it going. We have storyteller number 3 coming up. Let's give a warm welcome for Patrick Mahan. Come on up, Patrick.
How's it going? I already got some merch that I purchased. I turned 47 15 days ago, and I have a new pain in my neck. So, yeah. But I recently got engaged to a beautiful woman who happens to be here tonight. And I didn't think she'd make it because she had to go to her grandfather's funeral. He was 91 years old, but she made it back from Philly. I drove her to Newark this morning, and I can't believe I made it back from Newark this morning. In any event, the crazy thing is, believe it or not, she actually proposed to me. And it was the easiest question in my life. I said yes. And I was in shock for probably 3 days after that. We immediately went to the mall. I bought an expensive coat. And then I came home and I properly proposed to her. And she said yes. We've known each other almost 10 years, but we recently moved to Maplewood about 8 months ago. And what I realized was, like, stories are mine, they're yours, they're ours tonight. And I'm going to go back to a crazy time when I was a special education teacher doing remote learning for 18 months, and I returned back to work in Harlem at a charter, and I was exposed to COVID on the very first day. I was quarantined. She was quarantined. I went back about a week and a half later, and I quit. I can still remember, like, yelling at, like, the principal, like, running down the stairs because I was terrified. I had no parachute, no backup plan. The unfortunate thing was 2 days later, it was September 29th, 2021, 6:15, a 16-year-old boy was murdered outside of our house. And unfortunately, my good friend's 15-year-old son was out walking the dog, and he witnessed the whole thing happen. The first bullet went through a window. Second bullet got lodged in a tree. Third one hit him in the shoulder, spun him around. Fourth one killed him. Yeah, I don't know how my lovely, lovely, lovely woman put up with my melancholy for the next couple of months. I spoke out at a vigil. I spoke out at a funeral. I basically made a pledge that I would do what I could to fight against gun violence. Lucky for me, I got a job at a DOE school in my favorite part of Brooklyn. And I recently just celebrated 3 years at my school, December 8th. Unfortunately, on December 3rd, 2024, my student was shot outside of our school. And keep in mind, this was December 3rd, 2024. The only news station that covered it was Long Island Channel 11 because a certain Luigi Mangione gunned down a CEO in Midtown, which I probably missed by about 30 minutes because I was coming on the 3 train. So I don't know, it's kind of crazy just to kind of normalize all these things and kind of listen to stories. And 2025, out with the old, yeah, in with the new. This is the only part that I really want to get right. So I'm gonna just do my best to get through this. It's only about a minute and a half, so it should be good. But I like to call this morning announcements. So yeah, I'm gonna take a swig of water like I do all day at work. I actually haven't been back since I think it's 33 days now in a row of unexcused absences. The principal actually, when I walked out of the door with the second shooting, he basically said, "Are you all right?" I said, "No, are you all right?" And I left. I haven't been back since. So if I was a student, I'd be in a lot of trouble because I've missed 33 days in a row. And they still haven't approved my leave of absence, but that's okay. Morning announcements. Just had another shooting at my school. They make shooting number 2 in less than a week. They cleaned up the crime scene so quickly when they really should have just left it. Chapter 1. First shooting left my second period government 17-year-old student in a hospital bed. Bullet could have hit his chest, could have hit his head. Just got him in the ribs, though. At least he ain't dead. Like another 17-year-old student who was in my third period when I first started working there, who got murdered 2 years ago, 2 days before New Year's, with 2 bullets. But at least nobody died this time, right? At least shooting number 1 was after a basketball game. At least no one got murdered over some hypothetical argument. Someone said they overheard the following. We were winning in the beginning, when the score was tied at 0 during the first 10 seconds of the first quarter. But if they score, it might mean war, because we brought guns to fight with. Guns we like, because they're automatic. They're shooting basketballs. We're shooting bullets. Chapter 2. Second shooting was at dismissal just the other day. Not 5 minutes passed before the loudspeaker called out, "A shelter in place." After they stopped running, they started panicking, talking too fast, and not really thinking. Some of the kids told me almost immediately, "There's an active shooter in the building." I stated, insistent and simply, do not repeat that phrase for the rest of the day. It's a shelter in place, which means the threat is outside. Take care of yourselves. You do not have to stay here in a classroom with a locked door on the 4th floor. You just have to wait until it's safe so you can leave. But at least we had the pep rally to support the team before there was a second shooting on our school streets. There is no G in team, no U, no N, but I wonder how anyone could support another shooting again. Nobody does. It's just sad how admin find it in their spine to say nothing. Yet every day we close with the same phrase. Have a great day. Behave in the hallways. And tell your friends not to shoot any guns at any teachers today.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Let's take a nice, beat and a deep breath. If you'd like to close your eyes, it always helps. Stories are often not easy. They're important for us to hear. It may not be your experience, but it's somebody's. We gotta honor that. All right. We're gonna get to our fourth storyteller after just one more breath. Let's welcome to the stage warmly. Let's keep the energy going for Rory Pasquiello. Come on, Rory.
So this story is from 7 years ago when I was working as a reporter in Bayonne, New Jersey. It was supposed to be an easy photo for the newspaper, the kind that tells a story. I already wrote the caption in my head: dilapidated playground, under renovation, or children's oasis regains former glory. Bayonne DPW workers in the foreground, behind them a dried up splash pad, dolphins frozen in water spewing poses, paint chipping off their faces. A faded wall mural depicts field of flowers with the words confidence, love, and freedom. So I stop, I point my camera through the chain link fence, and as I hit the shutter, one of the cleanup guys, he drops the fistful of weeds back into the dirt, and he just looks straight in the lens and just flips me off. He just holds the bird up just for way longer than really anyone should. So now I'm suspicious. I'm noticing something's really off about this scene. The guys there are not wearing uniforms. And DPW workers just generally, they just don't flip me off unless I flip them off first. They only return the favor. They don't initiate. So my spidey senses kind of tingled. I ask about the park. He lightens up real quick. He tells me his name, Mikey. He and the other two guys, brothers named Irvin and Joe, they're all homeless. They say they're being paid pennies an hour to clean up the park by the skeevy real estate guy, someone I know. He's a perennial losing candidate for all the local elections. Run for Board of Ed, City Council. He just keeps on running and losing. He always runs on like cutting waste from the city budget. And it's September and the election's in a couple of months. And now the picture is really becoming clearer for me. This park renovation is obviously, it seems to me, to be a vanity project. I think this skeevy, real estate guy is trying to, tell the town, hey, look how great I am. I renovated this park. I care about the kids, but he's kind of, obviously, he seems to be doing it at the expense of some others. And these guys, they're, right now, today, they're working in the park, but other days, they tell me, they're cleaning the furniture store and a corner store, which are both owned by this guy. And it's all basically on the same block. It's like slavery, man. He knows we need a couple of dollars, so he uses us. So Joe told me. He has acid reflux and nowhere to sleep. Of course, I call this skeeve to get his side of the story. First, obviously, he denies it. But then he called back a little later from his car with these homeless guys in the back seat. They're on speaker, clearly under duress, and they change their story. They say, oh, it's all for the kids. There's no problem anymore. It's very uncomfortable for me. But I just keep on asking this skeevy guy all these kind of questions, and eventually he cops to it. He says, if I didn't put them to work, they'd probably be panhandling or, on some corner for money. I stabilized them, I fed them, I gave them things to do. So he's their savior, he's the good guy. But now I have a story. Wage theft, violation of employment laws, and city contract. Just plain sus kind of shit. The list goes on too. It's more complicated than this. But this is my chance kind of to do what's right, to side with the oppressed. The community should know when someone among them, is treating one of the community members as kind of objects rather than equals. allegedly. So I did what a good reporter would. I gathered my information, I conducted interviews, I worked with my editors to fact check and polish a story suitable for print. And we presented it to the owners, who were also real estate people. They took the copy into their back room, and they came out 15 minutes later. We're not publishing it. So my stomach sinks. They said that they were afraid of a lawsuit, even the possibility of one, even if it was unlikely. They didn't want to incur that kind of risk, that kind of cost, even if they win. So I was disappointed. I was embarrassed. I was pissed. But ultimately, I think, abandoned. The owners were supposed to side with me, not the skeevy guy taking advantage of the homeless. I thought that was, understood. But the story never published. The park was never renovated. I doubt Mikey, Joe, and Irvin were ever paid what they were owed. Slime balls. The slime ball lost the election again. Less than a year later, the owners sold the newspaper. The new owners would lay off half the staff, including me, and the rest not long after. They ceased print production and wiped the archives from the internet. My work, all those years gone, memory hold. Even if that story published that day, you wouldn't be able to find it now. I really loved being a journalist. In my heart, I'm still there. And I don't even know if I want to leave. How do I leave behind a profession indispensable to our communities, to democracy itself? I think sometimes we're not in control of what we lose. Sometimes it's just taken. Often, too often, by skeevy real estate people. Wages, jobs, our stories, democracy. But this story, this was the last stone left unturned in that chapter of my life. And to turn a page, you must read it first. And finally, I have. So thank you for listening.
All right, keep it going for Rory. Thank you for fighting that journalistic fight, sir. And also, local politics matter. Thank you. All right, we are almost halfway through our storytellers this evening. Let's give it up for our next storyteller coming up. Welcome, Joni Baker. Come on up, Joni.
So about 2 weeks ago, my ex and I finally had our first meeting with a mediator. After 3 years of separation, I guess it's about time. And already I'm so ready for the whole thing to just be over already. We had achieved a sort of equilibrium, but now disagreements over money and what is fair have riled up old memories of conflict and sacrifices and the hardships that can come from being a military spouse with young children. You see, being in the Navy was my spouse's lifelong dream. But for me, being a Navy spouse was a trade-off. And also, I was never really meant to be a stay-at-home parent. I have a doctorate in math and a strong need for intellectual stimulation and collaboration. But right after our first child was born, the Navy sent him to MBA school in Michigan, and I switched to working part-time remote while taking responsibility for the baby. I don't think I really understood what I was getting myself into, and maybe he didn't either. The program was really challenging, and he was gone at least 6 days a week for very long hours. I missed my friends. And our baby was not the kind of baby who would entertain himself while I tried to chat with the other MBA moms or would have a jolly time at kinder music class. He was constantly restless and dissatisfied, which were early signs of his curiosity and creativity, but back then it was hard. I remember one time I had a walking date with one of the other moms. And I tried so hard to time everything just perfectly with the nap and the feeding, but then she was a little bit late and that was enough to just throw everything off. So we set out in our baby carriers and my baby started crying louder and louder until we finally had to abandon the mission, and she took her happy baby and fled the scene. And then it was my turn to cry over my sad attempts to make friends. So those 2 years were painfully lonely. Next, my spouse was assigned to a military supply depot in Ohio where I did have some family, and his hours were more regular, so I got a full-time job just 3 months before our second was born. I was so happy to be working on interesting projects as part of a team. But my spouse was used to me handling most of the kid and household stuff. He said, if I needed help with something, I should just tell him. So I tried to do that, but then he felt bossed around. So things were very tense. His next assignment was to an aircraft carrier, so we moved again, and I went back to working part-time to raise my kids, or our kids, now it's age 5 and 2. Then, after a fainting incident that resulted in a car accident, the state suspended my driver's license for 6 months. I was stunned when I received the notice, like literally the day before he left for his 8-month deployment. So at that point, I was doing 100% of everything with the 2 kids. I had to manage it all by bus, by bike, and by foot. And yes, it was hell. Until many weeks later, when I finally produced the medical records to convince the state that it was safe for me to drive again. Meanwhile, my oldest kid was in kindergarten with undiagnosed ADHD. I remember chaotic evenings with him at the counter with his worksheets in front of him and me just urging him to just focus while I tried to make dinner. And the youngest kid, still potty training, is like shitting all over the white kitchen floor. After dinner and homework, there were more struggles with the potty and bath time and bedtime. And then when I got them down, then I had to finish cleaning up and doing the laundry before falling into bed. I lost a lot of weight, and I took my daily relaxation through a couple of luxurious 8-minute smoke breaks. My gift to myself. During this time, my youngest had frequent temper tantrums that could go on for well over an hour until he exhausted himself. And a specialist gave this diagnosis. He's just very, very stubborn. It will serve him well later in life. Still, more than once, I had to leave precious social events with a screaming toddler hoisted under my arm, heading back to a home with no adult interaction. When my spouse finally returned from deployment, there was less yelling at the kids and more enjoyment. And having time to just play with them while he did the dishes felt miraculous and really weird after all of those crazy months. Still, we were not communicating well, and resentments were piling up. And when he retired from the Navy, we moved to New Jersey for his next career, and things got even worse. So finally, we decided to separate. But then I found a great job, and the kids started spending more time with him at his house, and I was able to go out and meet people and make new friends. And now I have more energy for the kids when they're with me, and he's become a better father too. More involved with both the fun and the tedious parts of parenting, which is to their benefit. And as for the kids, the dissatisfied baby has become a creative 14-year-old who makes me laugh with his impressions of Liz Truss. And the stubborn toddler is now a sunny, high-achieving 11-year-old who walks around holding my hand and remarking, "I just love Montclair." I'm happier than I've been in a long time. So hopefully my resentful and sad thoughts are sort of having a last parade during this divorce negotiations. Not that I'm expecting to wave a magic wand and they'll just go away forever. But I'm really looking forward to getting this done and just relishing my life the way it is now.
All right, keep it going for Joni. Warrior Mama. Well done. Thank you so much. All right, we have a veteran returning to the stage. Let's keep it going for Paul Body. Come on up, Paul.
In September, I landed a job as a playground monitor in charge of first graders. First graders are fascinating, particularly Brendan. Once I told Brendan, "It's cold. You're gonna get sick. Put your jacket on." Brendan says, Mr. Body, I'm not going to get sick. I'm already sick. 2 weeks ago, Brendan points to a huge sock that is stuck in a tree at the edge of the playground. I joke that maybe the sock belongs to Bigfoot. Brendan runs around the playground like a little Paul Revere, shouting, "Bigfoot is here, Bigfoot is here." A crowd congregates at the Bigfoot sock site. I visualize students sharing 4 a.m. nightmares with parents who are inclined to bring grief to school administrators. I tell the students, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Now, has anyone seen, heard, or even smelled Bigfoot? Brendan raises his hand. I saw Bigfoot last night. He's like an 11-foot tall mountain gorilla. I tell the students, eyewitness is considered the least reliable form of evidence. The students bring back a dozen pieces of garbage that they link to Bigfoot. The most compelling is a pile of droppings. None of the students questions whether Bigfoot would have had the will or the dexterity to put those droppings into a pooper scooper bag. Brendan then vaults Bigfoot fever to total hysteria. He leads the children to a plaque dedicated to a beloved teacher from the 1990s and says, this is where they buried Bigfoot's first victim. Some of the more sensitive children are crying for their mommies. The 150-year-old legend of Bigfoot must be tossed in the dumpster of mythology. I tell the students, there is no Bigfoot. People made up Bigfoot. Bigfoot does not exist, except possibly in the remote mountains of Idaho. 2 hours later, I'm working as a teacher's aide for a 5th grade class. The school's social worker comes into the class and says, students, there's something spreading around our playground that most of you are probably not aware of, but it's sufficiently disturbing that I need to bring it to all of your attentions. And I'm thinking, no, please, no. And then she says, some students forwarded nude photographs on the school's intranet. Learning that innocent young minds had been exposed to pornography, I almost did a happy dance. The next day, Brendan apparently didn't fully absorb my seminal lecture. He says, Mr. Body, we've built a trap that's going to capture Bigfoot. I decide to fight ridiculousness with ridiculousness. I tell him, Brendan, last night, one of those drones that's been hovering over New Jersey abducted Bigfoot, and we'll never see him again. The next day, Brendan says, Mr. Body, Bigfoot escaped, and I saw him heading toward the playground, and he was followed by 3 little Bigfoots, and none of them was wearing a coat. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Paul. And let's give it up for Brendan. That kid's a storyteller. If you've ever yelled at your children when they came from school because they have bad friends who taught them crazy things, it wasn't their friends. It was Paul. Good job, Paul. Incredible. All right, let's keep the good times rolling. Another storyteller coming up, returning to us. Let's give it up for Lydia D'Souza. Come on, Lydia.
Sorry, hi. My name is Lydia Patricia D'Souza, or Lídia Patricia D'Souza if it's in Portuguese, because I am Brazilian, as I said last time, and I know I look like a white bread soccer mom, but my hips don't lie, so. In 2009, I was standing outside the LA County Registrar 3 days before I was supposed to get married, having an argument with my soon-to-be father-in-law. And we were arguing over a little piece of paper and what name I was going to write on there that was going to be my name after I got married to his son. See, he's Brazilian as well. And in Brazil, as he was mansplaining to me, which I'm about to do to you guys, but I'm a woman, so it's allowed. In Brazil, when you get married and you're a woman, your father's name becomes your middle name, and your husband's last name becomes your last name. And so he was trying to tell me that my name was supposed to be Lydia Souza de Medeiros, because the DE just means of, and like everybody in the world in Brazil is named D something, D Souza, D Silva, D Mendioza. I would just like to take a moment right now to say that all of the names in this story have been changed to protect the guilty, except for my own. So Mendioza is not a real name, but we're gonna go with that one for right now, okay? He wanted me to be Lydia Souza de Mendioza, and I said, that's all great, but see, I was born in the United States. I've been De Souza my whole life, and to take out the DE of my father's name would feel like saying like a half name, like you'd be calling me Dia instead of Lydia, or Ifer instead of Jennifer, or Kun instead of Duncan, which is super offensive. So that's, I would like to be Lydia De Souza de Mendioza. And he's like, but that's not how it's done. See, in Brazil, when a woman marries a man, and I'm like, dude, I know, I'm not stupid, I get it. Look, this is the same guy who, when I moved into my new house and I had just spent 48 hours unpacking my entire kitchen, it's like the best time because everything is where it's supposed to be, exactly where you want it. And the next day I come in and all my cupboards are rearranged, and I was like, hey, did someone rearrange my cupboards that I just unpacked? And he's like, oh yes, I did. It's more intelligent this way. So this is the man telling me what my name is supposed to be, and we go back and forth. My soon-to-be husband is noticeably very silent. And it isn't until my mother slams her hand on the table and she says, it's her name. It's not your name, it is her name. So she can have any damn name she well wants because it's her name. And that is how I became Lydia Patricia De Souza de Mendioza, which in hindsight is a very long name, but I wasn't giving up any names after that, okay? So I have this really long name now. And even for a Latina, it's a really long name. I mean, I was driving and I went through a stop sign and I was speeding in a school zone, and the cop pulled me over and he, took my license and registration, and then he came back and goes, I'm gonna give you a verbal warning because anyone who has a name with that many names really needs a break once in a while. So I didn't get a ticket. Even though my name was this long, you still just go by the last name. So I'm Lydia Mendioza, like you just drop the DE. And I soon learned what it meant to be a Mendioza. My clothes changed. I started wearing classy clothes, because Mendiozas, they wear classy clothes. And De Souzas, they wear frumpy clothes. Their clothes don't always match. It's true. I lost weight because Mendiosa's, they're fit, and DeSouza's, they're fat. I stopped doing theater because that's just a hobby. DeSouza's have grandiose dreams. Mendiosa's, we get real jobs. Jobs that we can be proud to introduce you to when we talk to our neighbors. Hi, this is Lydia Mendiosa, my daughter-in-law. She's a teacher in Los Angeles. Hi, this is Lydia Mendiosa. This is my daughter-in-law. She works as a financial reporter at the New York Stock Exchange. Hi, I'm Lydia Mendiosa. I'm an editor for a luxury fashion magazine in Dubai. I got drunk once on a vacation in the Caribbean, and I was a disgusting DeSouza, because Mendiosas don't get drunk. I was thrown in the shower with all my clothes on, and I was force-fed a liter of water. And when I woke up the next morning, I was told that I needed to thank him that I didn't have a hangover, and I wasn't a disgusting DeSouza anymore. When we went to Brazil, I wasn't allowed to visit my DeSouza family. We had to stay with his Mendiosa family because, you know, the DeSouzas, they're from the favelas, but the Mendiosas, they have beach houses in Rio. I wasn't allowed to call my best friend because she was the first person that I called after he strangled me for the first time. In 2024, 15 years after, I kept that DE in my name. I packed my bags, and I walked out the door. And it may not be legal yet, but my name is Lydia Patricia DeSouza, or Lydia Patricia de Souza. And in 2025, I'm taking my fucking name back.
Yes, keep it going for Lydia Patricia DeSouza. I implore everybody to take something back this year. Make it yours. All right. Whew. Thank you. Powerful energy. Let's keep it going. Let's welcome to the stage Megan Dewan. Come on up, Megan.
Thank you, Duncan. Hi, everyone. Hi. So, my name is Megan, and just like our lovely host Duncan, I also had a birthday recently. Happy birthday. Oh, thank you so much. Y'all are so kind. Wow, I feel so loved. So, earlier this month, I turned the big 2-6, so I am officially, I know the room in the crowd, don't worry. I am officially in my late 20s, so it feels kind of strange, honestly, because I still cannot fathom the idea of being in my late 20s, and aging was not something I thought about until very recently. So on my birthday, I saw a couple of films with my best friend. I saw Baby Girl, and I saw Nosferatu, and then I also, a couple of weeks later, I saw The Substance. And for those of you who don't know the synopses of all the films, I implore you to kind of do your research afterwards to kind of get a gauge of what the films were about. But to kind of briefly tell you, a common core theme that I have found in all of these films, and I have, as someone who has a penchant for kind of analyzing and critiquing and discussing filmmaking, being in a space like this and having the carriage right across the street kind of implores me to do so. And what I noticed in my reflection and analysis of these films is that there's one core theme in common, and that is power. In Nosferatu and in Baby Girl, there is the power of lust and manipulation with lust. And then in The Substance, there is the power of youthfulness and aging. And those were not themes I had thought about until very recently, because I am now in a new age and year of life. And coming into the new year and coming into a new age, it got me thinking, how do I use those in my own power, in my own life? And I was reflecting a lot and thinking about how, and Angela mentioned this before, Lust is something that is very prominent in the dating age, especially in Gen Z, Gen X, I've noticed. As someone who is a part of Gen Z, I have had lust be used with me, and I've given that to people as kind of leverage of my own to use as a way of discovering who I am, but also it has come with negative consequences. And same thing with youthfulness or aging, and I use in air quotes for a reason, because as you get older, there are some things you don't really have as much access to, certain types of free things and memberships. So as I got older, I realized that I used my age unconsciously, consciously to get free drinks at a bar, to get discounts at cafes. And coming into the new year, I realized that's not right for me to do because it's manipulation. And so coming into the new year, I wanted to use the skills that I have learned in a way to an advantage for myself. Transfer them in a way, if you will. So the skills that I've used, lustfulness, aging, I want to transfer them and take it into a new direction. So I have a skin condition called eczema. It may not be so apparent, but it is something that I've lived with my entire life. I was born with it. And I also have a lot of mental health issues, and I have been struggling to kind of reacquaint myself in modern day society, especially post-COVID. So with these things that I've learned about myself upon reflection of aging and lustfulness, I want to redirection that and focus it on myself with reinventing the way I look at my overall appearance, as well as how I view myself physically and mentally. So 2 things I wanted to focus on was 1, my skincare routine, and 2, how I view and take care of myself physically. So because of all of the issues I've had, I have not focused on going to the gym and fixing up my skincare routine, and those are things that I wanted to come into the new year having a better knowledge of. So I've already started taking care of myself physically, doing a few at-home workouts a week, but also trying to take care of my skin and the skin condition that I've had most of my life, or all of my life, to try and maintain a little more. And I'm coming into the new year in a new relationship, my first relationship, and knowing that has also helped me feel more confident in trying to process in those steps. So that's more of an advantage for myself, as well as more motivation for me to kind of reacquaint myself with society. So doing that has helped me learn a lot more of what works with me, what works with my skin, what works with how people perceive me. But even though that's not of importance all the time, it's good to know what works with the people who view you every day in your life, as well as those who you may encounter occasionally. Do they see that you've improved? Yes, maybe, but have you improved? And those are questions of reflection I like to keep for myself now and then. And something that I want to take away this year is knowing how to pass that knowledge, not only to myself and impart that constant analysis in my own way of life, but also with other people. And hopefully have more people in my corner who know that it is okay to, as I acknowledge the diversity of aging in this room, I think it is important to, no matter what age you are, to think about yourself and know that you are beautiful, and know that even though you are coming into new days and ages of life, it is okay to have insecurities, but it is also okay to know what you want to use to fix yourself or improve on yourself, and that is okay. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Megan. What a powerful message.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
And happy birthday to Duncan.
Oh, come on. Happy birthday back to you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Megan. We are just 3 storytellers away from the end. Thank you. You've been a wonderful audience so far. Let's give it up for our next storyteller. Welcome to the stage, Mabel Aragon. Mabel, come on up.
Hello, everyone. Well, it's the end of a new year and the beginning of a new one. And for me, that means reflection. It also means tradition. For the last 15 years or so, I have a tradition that includes a journal a pen and tissues because it often gets rather emotional. And I go on December 31st to one of my favorite places, whether it's my childhood park or a church that I find solemn and beautiful. And so this past year, I went to church, and I reflect on my life. I break my life down into categories, including health, hobbies, things that I enjoy doing, things, new adventures that I want to have, or perhaps activities that I've been engaging in and I want to take them to the next level. I also think about career, and I think about relationships, and that includes family, friends, coworkers, acquaintances. And I find that when I write things down, it allows me to see the big picture. And this year, relationships were a huge topic. Over the last 2 years, it's been an array of emotions. It's been a roller coaster of sorts. I was getting ready for my wedding, and my mommy got sick. And she was unable to be present for this monumental day. And then I got married, and my dad got sick shortly after. And now these two extraordinary individuals that have helped me find balance when I couldn't. These two extraordinary individuals that have offered me unconditional love. I'm an only daughter. You know, some people call our relationship unique, and it is. I love spending time with my mom. It's not a chore, it's an honor to be with my mom and dad. And so these changes have been challenging. And as I was writing in my journal, I was identifying individuals in my life and how they had impacted my life this past year. And as I thought about it, I realized that I had been reaching out to folks because I was feeling this void, and I didn't know how to fill it. So I was calling people, I was texting, I was inviting individuals to gatherings that I was having in honor of my mom and dad, and there was minimal reciprocation. And when it came to the gatherings, most folks would say, "Let me get back to you." Let me get back to you actually meant, if I don't have anything better to do, I'll be there. I know that sounds a little harsh, but the reality was I would then see on social media that they had gone out with friends, they were at a spa, they were on trips. And that seems a little harsh, and you should never expect anything from anyone else. And I take ownership for that. And the reason I did is because these individuals that I was thinking about and contemplating on, they were poignant in my life. For me, friendships and these close-knit relationships are significant because they're in our lives for a reason, a season. They're in our lives, actually, because they're there for the good, the bad, the ugly, the confusing, the everything. Those are the types of friends that I want to have. And so I'm writing in my journal, I'm collecting my thoughts, and I thought about that saying, a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And these individuals, I thought they would be in my life for a lifetime. And the reality was that wasn't exactly what was happening. When my husband now, at the time when he proposed, he referred to us as the core four. And I thought that was so beautiful because my life has always been my mom, dad, and I. And that's fine, it's been a beautiful life. But I actually thought, somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, now it's gonna be the core 10, the core 15, the core 20, because now I would have this extended family as a result of my husband. And the reality is that's not what occurred at all. And so as I moved into the new year, I really needed to think about, do I want these individuals in my life? Have they served me? And by serve, I mean, have they filled my heart with warmth, with love? And the truth is, no, they didn't. They didn't until they couldn't, I suppose. And so now as I look into 2025, several things became very apparent to me. I was looking outside of myself to feel loved. I was looking to other people to feel worthy. And that was a huge aha moment. And so as I move forward, I know that I'm okay because I have my mom's unconditional love, and that will never cease. Those values that they taught me and they instilled in me, they're always with me. And it's not, I enter 2025 with fewer people, but that's okay because it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And so as I move forward, I move with that legacy of love that my mom and dad gave me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel. Let's keep it going for her. I love that sentiment. People in your lives for seasons, maybe not forever, but appreciate while they're there. Thank you, Mabel. All right, 2 final storytellers. Let's welcome to the stage another returner, Eleonora Kostinsky. Come on up, Eleonora.
It was Christmas in the city. The streets were lit up, jingle bells were ringing, and magic was happening. But I was feeling sad. I was walking home from a Jewish singles party where I didn't get to meet the one. I was 29 and my clock was ticking. I popped into a bar called Russian Vodka Room, sat at the bar, and ordered vodka to drink away my sorrow. And suddenly I heard, "Do I know you?" I turned around, and there he was, blonde, blue-eyed, young man smiling at me, holding a shot of vodka in his one hand. I extended my arm, clinked my glass against his, and said, "You know me now." He was just the one I was waiting for 29 years. He called me the sunshine, and I called him my Apollo, as he looked like a Roman god. My Apollo wrote poetry. My Apollo played guitar. My Apollo gave me flowers. I was in love with my Apollo, and he was in love with me. I was living a fairy tale I didn't dare to dream. We were inseparable for 6 months, until one day he was running late and kept calling and saying, 15 more minutes. After 10 iterations of 15 more minutes, my clock stopped ticking and my patience had stopped. And so I said, "That's it, it's over," and hung up the phone. I was certain that a few hours later, my Apollo would be on his knees proclaiming his love. But it didn't happen. That night he didn't come. The next day he didn't come. A week later he didn't come. He didn't return phone calls. He didn't return emails. And I knew that's it. Now I was 29. My clock was ticking. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. But I could read. And so I read in Russian newspaper, Anastasia, black and white magic, love spelled. I didn't believe in love spells or black magic, but I was 29. And so I rushed to Brighton Beach. I imagined an old gypsy lady. I was a little surprised to see Anastasia, a young, blonde, petite girl with braces. I knew it was a scam, but remember, I was 29. She took his photo. She sprayed some magic water. And she took a whisk from a candle. And then she whispered some magic words. And then she whispered the same words into my ear. And I had to memorize those words. And then she said, for the next 30 days, you will have to pour 2 bottles of red wine under the same tree every day, the same time. I knew it was a scam, but I was 29. And so I paid $300. Next 30 days. I went to a liquor store across from my apartment, and I bought 60 bottles of wine. The owner of the store was a bit surprised, but my doorman was even more surprised when at 7 a.m. he saw a woman in jogging outfit with 2 bottles of Cabernet. Well, the chestnut tree that I found that looked like my Apollo was even more surprised, and I thought, well, would the leaves change red after 60 bottles of Cabernet? And so, imagine my surprise when after 30 days, my work email beeped. You've got mail. It was him. And it said, I miss you much more than I could ever imagine. I couldn't believe the magic worked. My Apollo was back, with guitar in one hand and jewelry box in another, standing on his knee, and with tears in his eyes, and I said, I do. I was the happiest girl on the Upper West Side. Now we decided to move in together. I broke my lease. I gave away my furniture. I was moving in with my Apollo into his Brooklyn apartment. Packed my stuff in boxes. And one Friday night I was waiting for him to pick me up. But he never came. And never called. Well, the magic spell had expiration. My clock expired too. But some years later, at Christmas time, I was walking down the streets of Manhattan. They were lit and magic was happening. And I saw him. I had a stroller with 2 kids side by side. And I looked at him and he looked at me. He was no longer blonde, he was bald. His perfect physique was overweight, but most importantly, he was single. That's it, thank you.
All right, keep it going for Eleonora. And that gypsy, the long con with the wine industry. It's fascinating. Wow. Thank you, Eleonora. All right, we have one final storyteller tonight, and just want to give a fair warning since we are at the end. Want to give a content warning here. There is some themes of domestic violence in this story. So if that is something that you would like to not be part of, you are welcome to step out at this time. But we just want to give you a fair heads up as we welcome to the stage our very final storyteller for tonight, Chantel Velez. Welcome up, Chantel.
Thank you so much. Just a fun fact, this is my first time even here in Montclair Film, so thank you guys for welcoming me and allowing me to share my story. I am going to share a little bit of some heavy stuff. I apologize in advance, but I just feel like it's really important for me to share this. So I'm just going to share some quick facts. Domestic violence are repetitive behaviors directed to gain power or control over someone or people. Abuse can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological, and it could include violence, aggression, stalking, coercion, or threats of action. This can happen to anyone of all genders and all races. The #1 leading cause of death for Black women between the ages of 15 and 35 is domestic violence. 84.3% of Native American women have experienced violence in their lifetime. Approximately 1 in 3 Hispanic women have experienced domestic violence by a partner. 1 in 12 have experienced this in the last 12 months. 21 to 55% of Asian and Pacific Islander women report experiencing domestic violence in their lifetime, and children are more likely to experience this. And lastly, racism, discrimination, lack of services, distrust in law enforcement are reasons why survivors don't seek help and why domestic violence is a silent pandemic. But today, I'm choosing not to stay silent and to share my story. My name is Chantel, and I was born in 1991 in Providence, Rhode Island. I don't know how old I was when I came because every time I ask my dad, he gives me a different year. So I know I was like between 2 and 3. I moved to Woodland Park. I graduated high school in 2009, so I graduated in the 90s and the 2000s. I met my ex-husband when I was 19 years old. We met through mutual friends, and I remember just falling in love with his personality. He had tattoos, you know, he had colored hair, and he was Christian, but he listened to regular music, and he wasn't religious. So just something about me drew me towards him. I ended up getting pregnant shortly after we got married, and for me, it was what I wanted my whole life. I always wanted a partner. I wanted to get married and have children and to do life with someone that I can just get along with and who understood me, you know, despite going through a really rough childhood that included emotional neglect, physical abuse as well. I was molested at a young age, and I also struggled with ADHD, undiagnosed, so just a lot of stuff that I had to go through as a child. So when I finally broke free and I had the independence, I just wanted a partner to do life with. The abuse started shortly after. It was really difficult to identify because he wasn't directly physically abusive. It was very subtle, very emotional, very innuendos and passive aggressiveness, and little by little, those little things started to chip away at my identity, and I started to doubt myself. I started to doubt myself as a mother, as a partner, and it just really, I'm standing here today trying to wrap my head around everything because I just found out in August. My therapist was the one that told me, you're in a domestic violence relationship. And I was married for 13 years. So when she told me, it sort of made sense. It made sense because there was something inside of me that knew this behavior is just, it's not right. It's not right. So he was physically abusive, he was emotionally abusive, psychologically, everything, and I still forgave him. He cheated on me. I forgave him for 13 years, forgave him. Finally, you know, he's faced with the truth of his behavior and what he's done not only to me but to our children. And his answer to me was, when I asked him, you know, can you provide these things for me going forward? And his answer to me was, no, I'm sorry. I have to do what's best for myself, and I can't provide those things for you right now. So I'm 33 years old with 2 girls, 12 and 6. And 5 months ago, I thought that I was gonna die next to my husband, and we were gonna rock the rest of the world out together. But now I'm here standing. I don't know how my life is gonna look like, but I just feel compelled to share my story with people because what I've learned sitting with this truth and sitting with the pain and sitting with the loss is that life is short and time goes by so fast. And if there's anything that I can ask the public and all of you guys and everyone in the world as a domestic violence victim, what you could do is just be kind. Because we're living in unprecedented times and we need each other so much right now, despite whatever divisions we may have, despite whatever thoughts or beliefs we may have about each other. I'm vowing to myself to let go of nothing that serves people, that serves love. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to continue to carry these generational beliefs and all this trauma and I just don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean anymore. I want to love people, and I hope that by me sharing my story and being vulnerable would encourage you all to do the same. Thank you so much, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's keep it going for Chantel. Thank you for standing up here tonight, sharing yourself. Wow. You have been a fantastic audience. Thank you for welcoming all these different types of stories tonight. This is a safe space. We'd like for you to sort of keep these ideas here, but take the theme into the world and share that with others. So thank you. We're going to send our judges upstairs to deliberate for about 10 minutes. All right, can we please give our entire storytelling crew a warm round of applause? Thank you all so much for sharing. Yes, it's a small competition, but really we just benefited from everybody sharing a little bit of themselves tonight. So this is how this is going to go. Our wonderful photographer, Kareem, needs to get some shots of the winners, put it on the website. He's also been getting shots of you from the wings, so you may be on the website. Please check it out. But ultimately, our judges are going to introduce the winners, give the prizes, we'll take some pictures. If you do not win tonight, storytellers, we still want a picture of all the participants, so we'll get a whole group shot at the end before we head home and enjoy the rest of our evening. So, with that in mind, let's turn it over to our judges. Give a round of applause.
So, hi everybody. My name is Carter Stewart. It was my honor to be one of the judges tonight. My day job is giving grants to storytellers. And I have to say that I was absolutely blown away by the storytelling tonight. The power, the authenticity, the candor, the humor. So this was an extremely hard decision, and I understand that this is just one of the most incredible nights of the storytelling. So it's fantastic that you all are here for it. But we did have to make a decision. So in third place, we talked about performance, we talked about power, we talked about staying on theme. And the third place winner, who I am very happy to announce, was Funny. She was on theme. She taught me a new way of referring to sex. The winner, or the third place person, swiper no swiping, is Angela.
All right, bring it up, Angela. I'm gonna take that.
Thank you very much.
All right, can you step in, Angela? We're gonna get a picture with you and our judge. All right, if you'll just stay up here, we're going to get a picture with everyone at the end. How about our second place?
Hi, I'm Emily Zinn, and I'm going to thank everybody for all the stories tonight. We really did have a very difficult time, picking, all these, picking from all these wonderful stories. So for number 2, we have selected Joni Baker.
All right, Joni, come on down.
Thank you so much. Your story really resonated with us, and so relatable.
Step on in for your candid. All right, congrats, Joni. Can we drum roll? Is it possible?
I'm Yana Collins Lehman. I just want to say it truly was our honor. We're really the winners that we got to hear your stories. I was blown away by your willingness to be vulnerable, and it was truly an impossible task. So I just hope all of you feel really proud that you had the guts and the talent to come and do this. We really, really felt honored, and it was nearly impossible, but here we are. So the winner of this evening storytelling StorySLAM is Lydia D'Souza.
All right, Lydia D'Souza. Let's keep it going for Lydia in that first place spot as she comes to the front. All right, all the winners with our judges, please. All right. right, we get all of our other storytellers up for one last picture. We love to document tonight's storytelling event with one last picture. We'd love the judges to stay up if you're willing. Thank you so much. I know your hands are tired, but please, one more round of applause for our whole crew tonight. Get cozy, bring it in. There we go, thank you. Sacrifice. All right, what a wonderful evening of story. Thank you all so much. Check us out at montclairfilm.org. We got classes, we got shows. Of course, we got a few films thrown in there too. Have a wonderful night. Get home safe, everybody. Take care.